What's going on, gamers? It's your boy Max Deshaw with Based Game Reviews, and today we're doing a first impressions of the Brazilian indie developer Pulsatrix Studios' 2022 survival horror, FOBIA St. Dinfna Hotel. Let's get into it. How I played. I played on PS5 with a physical copy on an LG C1 with AirPods Max headphones. First impressions. Right out of the gate, I was bothered by the voice acting. It was impressively bad. I switched to Portuguese, which is the other option, and this helped me get back and focus on the game, but also worked with the lore. FOBIA opens with a short intro section, which sets up the main story. You get the idea pretty quickly of what the rest of the game is going to look like. Heavy on the exploration, opening lots of drawers, and piecing the story together through notes and letters. Taking into consideration that this is an indie title, I still felt like the graphics left a lot to be desired. There were moments where I felt like I was playing a PS3 game. The lighting was also distracting in an immersion-breaking way. I had to adjust the gamma multiple times, and it still never looked right, even with the inclusion of a flashlight. It was either washed out looking or way too dark. This was especially noticeable in the opening hours of the game and did improve as more areas became available to explore, but overall the lighting just wasn't dialed in. What worked? FOBIA was pretty mechanically sound. It had a good flow to it, and the puzzles were challenging yet still accessible. It very clearly borrows from the likes of Resident Evil, most notably. You've got limited inventory space, healing items are sparse, there's a safe room with a looping melody that plays, and you can stash extra loot and gear in a storage container. Puzzles are abundant, as are keys, codes, and items that can be combined together to make new ones, and the rain is hammering against the windows the entire time. The most notable mechanic comes in the form of a camera that's acquired early in the game. It works very much like the Lens of Truth does in Zelda. You look through it and see things that are normally hidden in plain sight. FOBIA put a unique twist on this idea, but it was still the Lens of Truth at the end of the day. The game had a really noticeable atmosphere that kept me engaged and interested in the world. It had a feeling that made me genuinely curious about the haunted hotel I was trapped in. It was awesome. FOBIA makes a point to show how the main character is stressed and bothered by what's happening to him. He's not okay with it. Something that I find is missing too often in horror games. I related and connected with his struggle. It made it matter so much more than if he was just going through the motions like a f***ing robot. I started to care about this dude and wanted him to get out safely. What didn't work? The audio and sound design were very weak. Besides the awful English voice acting that I already mentioned, a lot of things that should have had small sound effects, like confirming you've made a choice in the menu or basic interactions with your surroundings, were just completely absent. It just goes to show you how important small things like this are. They make a huge difference when they're missing. Combat was janky as hell. I tried to look at it from the perspective of working in the game's favor to heighten the sense of stress, but I think I was just trying too hard to like the game. It was just bad. Enemies close the distance on you way too fast, and there's a real lack of any feedback when you land bullets. It never felt like I was damaging anything. In FOBIA, it felt like I was just shooting at giant sponges. Oh yeah, speaking of sponges, the enemies take way too many hits to kill, and there's no melee weapon, so when you run out of ammo, you're screwed. To make matters worse, the gun would often just not fire at all, even though I had ammo. Nice. Worth continuing. Things were actually going really well, despite my ability to find flaws in nearly every single aspect of this game. I was invested in it. I wanted my man to escape this hellhole, and even with the lack of a map, I was focused in making progress in St. Dinfna Hotel. Then I came to a boss that broke the game for me. For anyone else who's played this, it was the spider. Someone in the comments of a YouTube video guide for this boss said it took them 30 shots from the handgun and 1 from the shotgun to take it down. This would basically mean I couldn't miss a single shot. During my attempts, it was also glitching out and teleporting from the floor to the ceiling as I was shooting at it. And on top of this, my gun kept freezing on me. Obviously some major glitch. I could only get 2 shots off before the gun just stopped working altogether. I had seen enough. Final thoughts. I can put up with subpar graphics. Graphics are not a deal breaker for me. Unoriginal mechanics and some janky combat, not the end of the world, but a completely broken and insufficiently tested boss early in the game on top of all this other stuff is just unacceptable. It's a real shame because I thought FOBIA had potential. It was a vibe, man, and I was really surprised I had stayed in it as long as I did, considering all its flaws. I kept thinking to myself that this game just felt like it was made by real gamers who really love the art and the culture. People who care. But despite all the best intentions, there just wasn't sufficient talent or resources, or maybe both, to really bring this thing home.